My wife sneered, "The judge will hand me the house, you'll be begging." I nodded. At court, she turned white when my lawyer said, "The prenup states otherwise." The judge slammed his gavel and gave me everything. It was a cold, sterile courtroom. My wife, Rachel, sat across from me, a smug smile on her face. Her lawyer was a shark, a slick-haired man in a too expensive suit. My lawyer, a quiet woman named Olivia, just adjusted her glasses. Rachel had been so confident. The day before, at our last tense dinner, she'd laughed. "The judge will hand me the house, you'll be begging." I just nodded, a calm I didn't feel deep down. I was a man who planned, and I had planned for this moment. Rachel was about to learn that. Her lawyer started, all big words and bluster. "My client, Mrs. Rachel Thompson, has been a dedicated homemaker for the duration of this marriage. She has sacrificed her career to support her husband's success. She's entitled to a fair and equitable division of assets, including the marital home." He laid out a case that painted me as a neglectful, work-obsessed husband and her as a long-suffering saint. It was a masterpiece of fiction. Rachel sat there, preening, loving the performance. She looked at me, a triumphant glint in her eyes. Then it was my turn. Olivia stood. She didn't shout, she didn't bluster, she was quiet, deliberate. "Your Honor," she said, her voice clear and strong, "we have here a prenuptial agreement, signed and notarized by both parties before the marriage took place." She slid a thick folder onto the judge's desk. "This agreement specifically states that in the event of a divorce, all premarital assets, including Mr. Thompson's primary residence, are to remain his sole property. It also specifies a spousal support schedule based on the duration of the marriage, not on lifestyle or perceived sacrifice." Rachel's face was a study in horror. Her smile vanished. Her jaw went slack. The smugness drained out of her, leaving a pale, sallow complexion. She looked at her lawyer, a silent, frantic plea in her eyes. He was just as stunned. He looked at the prenup, a document he clearly hadn't bothered to read or maybe had forgotten about completely. The judge, a stoic man with a long gray beard, read through the document. He looked up, his expression unreadable. Rachel stammered, That's not right. He pressured me into that. It's not fair." Her lawyer tried to object, but the judge cut him off with a look. He slowly picked up his gavel. The courtroom was silent. "The prenuptial agreement is valid, signed, notarized, clear and unambiguous," he stated. His voice was final. "Mr. Thompson retains the home and all assets specified in the agreement. Case closed." Bam! The sound of the gavel hitting the wood echoed in the silent room. Rachel just sat there, frozen. I looked at her, no anger, just a quiet finality. Her panic wasn't about losing me, it was about losing control. This was the moment I knew she never respected me. The shock on her face was worth every penny. She had believed her own lies for so long, she truly thought I was some easy mark. The truth, delivered with the blunt force of a judge's gavel, was a slap in the face. It was a quiet morning in the courtroom, but for me, it felt like the world had just shifted on its axis. Rachel's lawyer, a man who had promised her everything, just looked defeated. Rachel stood up slowly, her knees shaking. I didn't even look at her as I walked past. The silence in the hallway was deafening. I wasn't angry, I was finished. The first cracks had appeared a year earlier. It was our 3rd wedding anniversary. Rachel wanted to go to Paris, a surprise trip, she said. I'd told her I didn't have the money for a spontaneous trip. My business was in a slow period. She just sighed. "You're always so focused on money, David. Can't you just live a little?" She'd pouted. I caved. We went. I paid for everything. Every lavish dinner, every designer handbag she wanted. She promised to pay me back her half from her trust fund. "It's just tied up right now," she'd said, a familiar lie. The Paris trip was a red flag I chose to ignore. A few months after Paris, my Uncle George had visited. He's a shrewd financial guy. We were talking about my business and I mentioned the trip. "Did Rachel pay you back for that?" he asked. "Not yet," I said, a little defensively. He just raised an eyebrow. "Watch out, David. People who don't pay back small debts rarely respect you enough to honor big promises." His words had stuck with me. Rachel had a way of making you feel guilty for even asking about money. "Don't you trust me?" She'd ask. That was her go-to deflection. The gaslighting was so subtle, so practiced, that for years I didn't see it for what it was. She was building a narrative where she was the innocent party, the free spirit to my boring businessman. Then came the affair. I found out by accident. It was a holiday dinner at my parents' house. My mom, Linda, had just gotten a new tablet and was trying to use it. She asked me to help her with an app, and I saw a text notification pop up on her screen. It was from Rachel to my best friend Ben. Still thinking about last night, I'll tell you all the juicy details later. My blood ran cold. I immediately put on a fake smile, helped my mom, and excused myself. I felt sick. I knew Rachel and Ben were close. He was her confidant, the one she vented to about our issues. I had trusted them both. Now I knew that trust was a lie, a sick, twisted lie. My hands trembled as I took out my phone. I went to the cloud storage and found the shared album from the night before. Rachel had been at a girls' night out with her cousin, Sophie. But the photos told a different story. In the background of one photo, in a dimly lit bar, I could see Ben. He was holding a glass, a wide smile on his face. He was there with Rachel. She had lied to me about being with her friends. She had been with him, my best friend. This wasn't just an affair, it was an active, deliberate betrayal by two people I considered family. I saw the way she'd look at him sometimes, a little too long, a little too flirty. I dismissed it as harmless. Now I knew it was anything, but I confronted Ben later that week. I didn't yell, I just showed him the screenshot of the text. He didn't deny it. He just looked down, shame-faced. "David, I'm so sorry," he said, his voice quiet. "She made it sound like you were already separated, that you were just using me for emotional support. She said you were emotionally abusive." The manipulative narrative, it was all so clear now. Rachel hadn't just cheated on me. She had poisoned my best friendship with lies. She'd made herself the victim, the poor, neglected wife who found solace in the arms of a kind man, my own best friend. The cold, calculated fury I felt was far worse than rage. It was a sense of utter disgust, and the financial betrayal. It was deeper than the Paris trip. When I'd initially asked Rachel about the trip money, she had shrugged. "Oh, it's just a loan, it's no big deal." It was a big deal. I went through our joint account statements. There were hidden withdrawals, large sums of money. All transferred to a separate account I didn't know about. I traced the transactions. It was a shopping spree, a private bank account she'd set up all for herself. Designer clothes, spa days, lavish dinners. All while she was complaining to me that she was struggling and needed me to handle all the household expenses. My mom, Linda, always told me, "Honey, trust is like a vase. Once it's broken, you can glue it back together, but it'll always have cracks." My vase was shattered beyond repair. I knew I needed a plan, a public one, not out of anger but to enforce accountability. A quiet divorce wouldn't cut it. Rachel had to face the consequences of her actions, all of her actions. I gathered all the evidence, the Venmo transactions, the hidden bank account statements, the messages between her and Ben. I wasn't just going to get the house. I was going to expose the real Rachel, the one beneath the perfect, long-suffering wife facade. She had a major charity gala coming up, a huge event with all her society friends and my colleagues. It was the perfect stage. Revenge ending the charity gala was in full swing. Rachel, in a stunning red dress, was laughing, accepting compliments, and mingling with all the right people. She saw me from across the room, and her smile faltered for a second, then quickly recovered. She still believed she had won. Her lawyer had told her the judge's decision was a fluke, and that she'd get what was rightfully hers in the appeals process. She had no idea the second act was about to begin. I walked to the stage where the MC was wrapping up her speech. I handed him a USB drive. "Could you put this on the main screen, please? It's a tribute video." He smiled, oblivious. Rachel was standing with her parents. Her father, Frank, looked at me with distaste. I smiled politely. Her mother, Carol, gave me a tight smile. The main screen behind them flickered. My tribute video began. The first image was a screenshot of her dating profile from a private dating app with the text, "Looking for a discreet affair." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rachel froze, her champagne flute still in her hand. Her face went from triumphant to mortified. The next slide, the email chain between her and Ben, her portraying me as a monster, a narrative I had no idea she was building. Ben, standing by my side, just shook his head. More gasps, then the photo from our trip to Paris with a banner over it that said, "Paid for entirely by David, with her half never returned." A murmur ran through the room, growing louder. Rachel spun around, her eyes wild, her perfect makeup smudged with sudden tears. She looked at me, a silent plea, a desperate rage, but I just stood there, my expression unreadable. Then came the Venmo transactions, each one detailing a dinner or drinks with a different man, all while she was telling me she was out with her girlfriends. The crowd was no longer murmuring. They were openly gossiping, some shaking their heads in disgust. Her parents looked mortified. Her mother, Carol, covered her face. Her father, Frank, was red with anger. Then a final slide appeared. A screenshot of her bank account, the large sum of money I had transferred to her for a joint savings account that she'd immediately moved into her personal account. The exact amount she owed me for the trip, the groceries, the concert tickets, and more. A total of $7,800. The banner over it read, "A debt to be paid in full." I looked at her calmly. "You didn't get what was rightfully yours in court, Rachel, but you did get this." Her carefully constructed facade had shattered into a million pieces. Her friends avoided her gaze. Her family looked away. I wasn't angry, I was finished. I turned and walked out, leaving the sound of her sobs, her family's hushed arguments, and the stunned silence of the gala behind me. Justice in this case was a cold dish, served with a side of public humiliation. Closure ending the charity gala was happening. Rachel, radiant in a stunning red dress, was laughing, accepting compliments. She caught my eye from across the room, a flicker of apprehension in her smile. I gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod. Ben and Jake were by my side, offering silent support. My mom, Linda, had come to give her best wishes to Rachel's parents, a gesture of civility I appreciated. I had decided against the public spectacle. It wouldn't truly bring me closure. Instead, I had a quieter, more dignified plan. I walked over to Rachel as she was taking a break from the spotlight, sipping champagne. Her friends were scattered around. "Rachel," I said, my voice calm. She tensed, her eyes wary. "David." "We need to talk," I continued. "Not here, though." I led her to a quieter corner near a large potted plant. "I'm not going to cause a scene, Rachel. That's not who I am." Her shoulders visibly relaxed. A spark of hope flickered in her eyes. "But," I continued, "I want you to know that I know everything." I listed them, the dating profile, the emails to Ben, the affair with her new colleague, the financial deceptions. I laid it all out calmly, factually. No accusations, no anger, just truth. Her face, at first relieved, slowly morphed into a mask of shame and fear. She tried to interrupt, to deny, to justify. "David, it's not what it seems." "It is exactly what it seems, Rachel," I interrupted softly. "And I'm not going to tolerate it anymore." I pulled out an envelope. Inside were printouts of all the evidence. Not for public display, but for her to see, for her to truly understand that her lies had been exposed. I also included a meticulously detailed list of the money she owed me, with bank statements and Venmo records. "I want you to pay me back every cent you owe me, Rachel," I stated. "Within the next 2 weeks. If not, I'll pursue it legally, but I'd rather avoid that. This is your chance to handle this with a shred of dignity." Her eyes welled up. I don't have that kind of money right now." "Then you'll find it," I said, unwavering, "because this isn't negotiable." I handed her the envelope. "This is over, Rachel, truly over. I wish you well, but my life is moving in a different direction, a direction without deception." I left her there, clutching the envelope, her face a mixture of shock and resignation. I felt a lightness, a sense of peace I hadn't felt in months. I wasn't angry, I was finished. My best friend, Ben, walked over. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Everything's fine, Ben," I replied, a genuine smile on my face, better than fine. The next morning, I booked a trip, not to the coast, but to a new city far away to start fresh. I knew the money would come. But more importantly, I knew my self-respect was intact. This wasn't revenge, this was liberation. And as I started packing, I felt a hopeful buzz for what lay ahead, a future unburdened by her drama.